Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
You guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
who let this guy in here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down, like, wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May said who?
Because I'm so driven. And I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
The versus Brian Keith match. It's awesome.
Oh, it's so cool. You got like these creepy ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest ride.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download. It's Thursday. You know what that means. What's up, everybody? Your boys SPD and Mindrunner are back in the saddle. He's looking all pretty over there, fresh off the heels of a excellent Dynamite and Rampage combo live and in person. Before we start our typical show, how was your night last night, Mindrunner and the crew?
Well, let me tell you this, SPD. You know, after last night, it was a transformative evening because Full Tilt Deb and I had the privilege of having our fashion icons gracing our presence. Mansoor and Mason Madden, also known as the MXM Collective. We were able to touch tips and we were able to see the runway fabulousness. And we were just like good little puppies. We lapped that up tremendously. It was awesome. We had a great time. We had an AEW hangover today, not alcohol, just the post-show hangover, because we hit IHOP afterwards. That's been our tradition, is to hit up a place afterwards and just bask in the marking out. And it was fantastic. We got to stay for Rampage. Tony Khan really he came out and talked about how he really loves Norfolk. We're coming back. They're going to come back again. I tried to get a pay-per-view chant going. It didn't. We couldn't get a chant going to save our lives over where we were. But I understand we were loud on TV though. Was that true?
It did seem loud on TV. I mean, it resonated well. You guys held it strong right off the get-go with the Let's Go Sheeta CEO chants, and throughout the whole episode of Dynamite, it definitely felt like the crowd was alive.
Yeah, it was. And there were a lot of good chants. There was even they had an attempted CM Punk chant that died, really got drowned out by boos.
Super kick partied his face.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of and it was mixed. There were a lot of mixed chants, like with Mercedes and Sheeta. We were in the Sheeta camp, even though, I mean, I like Mercedes and Camille, but it was mixed. The Acclaimed was getting some good chants, and the pop for Daddy Ass was great. I think the big Daddy Ass got one of the biggest pops of the night, and of course we're going to get into it. The aftermath of the Swerve Yuta match got a tremendous pop. And it was a great Dynamite. No spoilers, but Rampage is worth the watch. That's all I'm gonna say. It's worth the watch. The matches that went down on there are definitely worth checking out. And it was a tremendous. It actually felt like a go home show, and I can kind of understand because next week's Dynamite is going to be across the pond at the UK. So in a way, this was like the go home before the go home show, but it felt like a go home show.
It felt like it too at home, the go home-ness to it per se, especially with all the promos and stuff that was going on. So yeah. I really felt like this could have been the go home show, especially the way the show ended itself. But it's not. There's still a lot more wrestling to be had. And like you said, Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. So you still got a lot ahead of us leading up to it. And one thing before we dive into Dynamite is the breaking news that was just recently announced in the last hour or so. Next year's All In is coming to the great state of Texas on July 12th. And so they made it a big announcement today that All In for 2025 is going to be in the U.S. in Texas at the Texas Rangers Stadium. They're going to go back to Wembley for 2026 as well. So that is huge news. And I think I saw that it could the largest crowd at that stadium was a Morgan Wallen concert, which was 42,000. If they're pushing all in numbers like in Wembley, they should have no problem matching that or breaking that come July 12th, 2025. And maybe, just maybe, we might have to take a trip down to the old great state of Texas for this one.
If only we knew some awesome person that would not only be happy to see us, but would also, is going to be promoting the heck out of this event. I wonder if there's somebody we know that could possibly even be in one of the major events of this match. I wonder if there's somebody that we could talk to.
Hey, never say never. I mean, a lot can happen to that, and that would be great. I would love the opportunity to. I do love going to see any AEW show, but it is also a little more fun to road trip and make a weekend out of it on it. And I do like the Saturday pay-per-views personally a little bit better.
Yes.
But that being said, let's shift back into last night. Last night's card definitely, as you keep mentioning, the go home show field. Oh wait, hold on. Before we do that, my bad. Let's update on our draft rankings.
Now, I can understand, SBD, why you would be reluctant to share this segment. I get it because, as you can see, there is a arguably, what is it, a 3-point difference between you and Courtney. The four battling for third place, but again, third place, third place, anything can happen. As you said, we're going beyond All In. We're going to go into All Out. But if you can tell the big shift here. Brent is now at the Ocho. Brent is now the Ocho right now. Courtney is just dipped below me, but at 31. Thank you, FTR. But I'm 1 point behind Bobby. Bobby's 1 point behind you. I mean, Courtney's technically 2 points behind me. These do not reflect Rampage's numbers, so I know that the points are going to make a slight difference here.
Right.
But there is a big battle between us four. I mean, it's like a battle royal right there. But the biggest news is Brian is really getting some competition because, as you can see, Full Tilt Deb is only 3 points behind Brian. And so Mr. pulling out in the lead, he's starting to run out of some steam here as FTD is hitting the NOS. She's about to pull a Fast and Furious, and you never know. By the end, at the other side of this weekend, going into All In, could we see Brian being dropped to second place or even third place?
I'm looking at the rosters right now on my phone. That's why I'm looking down at the moment. And, smart by Brian, booking the old TK favorites there that are the ones that are booked, 5 nights a week to win, such as the OCs, the Hooks, the Willows. And so he's got a pretty solid core group of untouchables in the AEW world. So, I'm excited to see the battle between FTD and Brian for the top. I think that it's going to be tough to catch both of them. So it's definitely going to be a little challenging. Not impossible, but I think based on looking at the rosters that we're seeing from both the top two teams, I felt great with my roster during the draft. But as we're learning about some certain things. I'm looking at my, Samoa Joe's been gone from TV. Ricky Starks hasn't made one appearance during our draft. Rumors of the Lucha Brothers possibly leaving, which would be absolutely heartbreaking for me. So still, it's going to be a lot of fun for that middle of the pack there. And, I was kind of looking at the calendar for next season's draft. All Out is on the first weekend in September. And then so we'll let that first week go by, and then we'll draft the next weekend, which could be the weekend of the 20th, 21st, around then. So the next draft is going to be around then. So mid-September. So right around the corner.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be three pay-per-views between that and Revolution, before Revolution. There's the End of the World pay-per-view, obviously full gear, but isn't there another pay-per-view, I think, in between End of the World
and Dream?
Wrestle Dream. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. Yeah, I agree. I some of there's been some hit and misses. Obviously, I chose Ricochet, who may or may not be showing up at the Gauntlet match. We never know. But Hologram has been one of my favorite pickups, as well as Camille has been a great pickup for me.
Great pickups.
Anything can happen, though. I know Brian is blaming Tony Khan for losing his huge lead. Tony Khan's booking has been costing Brian the lead here, I guess. I don't know. Or it could be because rumors are Full Tilt Deb has Tony's ear. So I don't know if Full Tilt Deb's been cashing in some of those favors with Tony Khan on some of those matches. But all around, this has been so much fun. And again, talking about these folks in the low 30s, Courtney, anything can happen. Bobby's been crushing it. Courtney's been crushing it. And again, this does not reflect Rampage's results. We've got Collision. Anything can happen. I bet these numbers are going to be really interesting going into All In.
Right. We're in the final countdown of our draft season 3. But to shift our focus to Dynamite, great card. So we had 2 title matches.
Yep.
I guess, I don't know if you would call the Swerve Strickland a title defense or not. But to me, that would qualify as a title defense, regardless, because he's the champ and he's fighting. So all matches should be a title defense. So potentially 3 title matches here on this Dynamite, and a lot at stake. So this one this is like, looking at this card, if you just swap out, let's just say Yuta versus Swerve, it's almost like pay-per-view quality of a card. And that's what's great we're seeing about this. The way it kicked off with Mercedes Moné and former champion Shida was a great spotlight. And I do love that opening match segment, because you get so few commercials. You get, nonstop action. You're setting the tone for the night. And it did set the tone. How did it translate live and in person? Because here, watching it on TV, crowd was hot for both of these ladies.
Exactly that. It was 50-50 Shida Mercedes. There was a loud group chanting CEO. We were actually going CE no in our group. We were going CE no, but we realized we're actually making the CEO part sound louder. But Shida got such a huge pop as well. There were a lot of "Let's Go Shida," "Holy Shida" chants. We were and the opening back and forth was tremendous too. And kayfabe aside, Mercedes really knows how. Like she's really impressing me. We only watched her Sasha Banks in WWE, but she's really impressing me on how she gels with her opponent. Like that back and forth between her and Shida at the beginning, and all the back and that was tremendous. I mean, there were a couple moments where it seemed like one of them might have been slightly off, but it didn't really affect the match. The match was tremendous. And again, compliments to AEW AEW for the most part doesn't bury a former champ. Shida looked like a former champ in this match, and not like and you weren't squashing somebody that used to be a champ. It was great. The whole thing, the Camille Brickhouse factor. And I know I know Bully Ray was upset that he felt like it made Camille look a little bit less intimidating with some of the spots. I thought she looked very intimidating, especially when we were going, "Let's go, Sheeta," and she turns around and shot like a evil look, and everybody in the front row went like, "Oh," like they thought she was going to take him out. No, Camille looked great. The match was great. And I guess somebody showed up at the end, but we don't have to talk about that. But we could talk about just how great Sheeta and Mercedes looked, and I really do feel like Mercedes is finally giving us her the value that that everybody was saying she was going to add to AEW's women's division. I feel like we're really seeing that now. She's really found her groove. And going into All In, I think it's going to be great. And beyond, I feel like the women's division has really risen. And again, kudos to Sheeta for being a great opponent. This felt like a pay-per-view match, and we were cheering. We brought some cough drops, an unofficial sponsor. But we brought some cough drops because I was already starting to lose my voice. And we were at the first match of the night, first televised match of the night. And
Crayfish had that happen to him before too. And he had kept going to the concession stand buying lifesavers because literally he lost his voice. It was during the pre-show. And I'm like, bro, come on. I need you, man. You got some pipes on you. But you're right, man. I think like ever since this pairing with Camille and Mercedes, it has been fantastic. And I think Camille is such a scary force to be reckoned with on all levels, and it's working so well. And Mercedes is such a chameleon who can work with anyone and so many different competitors, and we're seeing that week in and week out, and all the diverse competitors that she's been going against. So it's really able to highlight and showcase of what she can bring to the table more and more and more. And I like that she's been a fighting champion leading up to this match with the DMD. It's going to be very interesting how this plays out, and I still stand by the booking, the SPD booking of this one, where Mercedes does retain, but we do see Hayter save the day, which would be the ultimate, or the biggest payoff ultimately for that. So I still think this feud has got a lot of life left in it. And so adding that Hayter mix throws in different tag teams, throws in different one-on-ones, and then maybe Hayter could be that wild card to dethrone Mercedes for that TBS title. As you've spoken about a couple weeks ago, how you were saying Hayter's, the bigger star, which I disagree on that one personally, but that's okay. The DMD, but it would be interesting how that would play out if DMD doesn't ultimately get it done and beat Mercedes, and then Hayter does and gets the belt. So I think there's just so much meat left on this bones, and it's going to be a fun ride leading into All In and past All In and beyond when Hayter does return to save the day.
Absolutely. I think the All Out match is going to be, it should be, you don't need another TBS defense at All Out. Make it Mercedes Camille versus DMD and Hayter.
And then you give the Hayter and DMD the win there, and then it's essentially kind of split there. And then that would to really elevate that feud even more. To be a lot of fun.
Can you imagine the pop of Jamie Hayter's music hitting in Wembley Stadium?
I know. This is a 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. So buckle up. I need to make sure I get by a streaming service or TV ASAP on that day, because I'll be driving that day, a long drive. So I'm going to try to coordinate it accordingly to be able to watch it.
It's going to be awesome.
But
it's going to be awesome. Get your tea and crumpets.
Hometown guy, Hangman Adam Page, Jay Lethal. I love this match. I think this was so hard hitting, so fun. Especially the way it started backstage and moved into the ring, which we saw a couple bits of that. The same thing with like the Young Bucks match starting on the stage. Lethal and Hangman feel like they have some great chemistry. Both guys were hard hitting, high flying, and I love this no F's given Hangman mentality and attitude right now. I'm really liking this side of him. If he just had his old music, but that's another thing aside.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Where it's going, I'm really not sure. Like, I don't know his ultimate end game. I think Swerve is still on the pedestal of what he's going to be searching for. So, big picture, looking beyond All In, this could lead to possibly Swerve and Hangman match at All Out,
Yeah.
or the next pay-per-view, Wrestle Dream, and we'll see, or even a match at Grand Slam, a marquee match at Grand Slam. So a lot can happen. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, and I gotta agree 1,000% with Brent on this point about Lethal. And some people don't realize that Jay Lethal is not, he's kind of a local boy too, because he was a big part of the some of the Hampton Roads wrestling promotions. He came by a couple times. So this was definitely a tremendous match. A lot as heel as Hangman was supposed to be. I mean, this is Virginia Beach, Norfolk. This is Virginia. He was getting a lot of pops, a lot of cowboy shiz chants. But Lethal was also getting some chants too, getting some cheers. And again, Jay Lethal's another one of those guys that can put on a great show. He's a great, when he's the opponent, regardless of the outcome, he's going to help make the person he's wrestling look good. I don't want to call him, he's not a jobber. I don't want to call him an enhancement talent by any means, but he's one of those wrestlers that can really help whoever he's wrestling really come do some really cool stuff. And such a great match. The deranged Hangman, of course, that I think what they're kind of leading to here, that he's going to finish off his feud with Jeff Jarrett and that whole group. But after this, I think we're definitely in store for a Hangman versus Swerve part 4. I don't know if it's going to be
it's part 4, right?
But this is going to be one of those things where it's like Batman and the Joker. It's like Stone Cold and The Rock. It's one of those things that's just going to continue to go as a feud. But yeah, kudos to Jay for really being a good part, being the other half of this dance partner that was just tremendous. And I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, Lethal's time in AEW has been kind of a roller coaster, but everything he's done has been so entertaining, and he's been such a solid pro, as you're saying in the chat, Brent. But I agree, man. The guy is reliable. He's great on the mic, excellent in the ring. He can build up feuds. He can execute feuds. I mean, he is, he should be featured more, in my opinion. I thought he made the most out of his time with this Jeff Jarrett faction. But I definitely think he has got big star power in him, as we have seen.
And a spoiler alert, this may be a spoiler, I don't know, but Ringside Collectibles and Jazzwares has released the sketches and the info that there's going to be a rare Chase figure coming out in the next few months of Black Machismo.
No
variant
way.
Of Jay Lethal, of his Macho Man persona. So, which I think they need to bring that back. If you want Jay to go on a super babyface run, I think he needs to start to morph into the Black Machismo character, and I think that would be over like Rover.
Give the people what they want. I mean, he's had those amazing impressions of Flair, and obviously the Black Machismo. Like give us that. Let him have that opportunity to run with that one more time. I think it would be fantastic. But you're talking about briefly the Hangman stuff. Never mind. We'll dive into the All In stuff, and that'll be a part of a little bit of hot take for SPD's hot take. But I want to talk about the tag match, and because this has got me really excited about what's in store, what we're gonna see, and what do you think is gonna happen. But Acclaimed cashed in their tag title match when they won, since they won that eliminator match, one of the first eliminator match victories that we've seen, with a little bit of help with FTR interfering, costing the Acclaimed their title shot essentially. And Christopher Daniels announced on Collision, which for you, Team Mindrunner, is a +2 no matter what, because you got FTR versus Acclaim, unless they do a no TQ, because there's a lot of rumblings and rumors. I think
that'll be my luck.
Right. I think it would be, to me, running back FTR and Young Bucks at Wembley would be fantastic. Tear the house down. A triple threat, maybe they do a triple threat ladder match or something like that, would be great as well, because there's a lot of, I feel like Collision, Acclaimed, FTR, the bad blood is not going to be sizzled for one match. So to me, whoever wins or loses, there's going to be a brawl after the match in Collision. And I think that should lead to a triple threat. You're featuring 3 of your, as of now, top tag teams and all former champs, those 3 teams. So that's where I would go with a triple threat there on that one. And you could even do that with the trios as well, the triple threat trios, which that's a whole nother thing to talk about, which we don't even know what's in store for the trios champion, Christian Cage, our father, what's going to be in store for that. But I have a bold prediction with that one, which I can mention after this match here. But I love the way the Young Bucks, Justin Roberts, announced them. I love the way that they're talking online, how they're defending their titles with some of their very limited dates, and things like that. So the Young Bucks, I wish they've defended him more. I do wish they defended him more, and almost didn't, book themselves in jobber squash matches just to, hey, we feel like wrestling tonight, as you mentioned before. Like, we're the EVPs, we want to wrestle tonight. Why don't we wrestle in the main event spot, or why don't we wrestle in the open? Just like picking their battles.
We need to tune up. We're bored.
Right.
We need to stretch out. Yeah.
You know what? Or have a match announced, and then they cancel the match, and they're like, you know what? This match is over. We need it. We want this time.
But this is where they're missing out. Why they need to run back the Conquistadors bit from WWE that FTR tried that one time when they dressed as the Frog Guys. This is when because they have them start booking matches against jobbers, and then they're going to book against these jobbers called the Los Acclamadores or something like that, and these pink masked wrestlers, and you start to realize that it's the Acclaimed, and then they beat them. 2 ways I see this going. First of all, the match was fantastic. And what I love about what they're doing now is they're responding to the fans, because back before Blood and Guts, I think there was a lot of speculation, specifically with Max Caster, that are the Acclaimed really worthy of this serious kind of thing? It's kind of, I think they kind of felt like, here's this serious match, and we're putting these gimmicky guys, the Acclaimed, in this match. Now, you and I have talked about this before on the show about Bowens is one that can really go. And I could see down the line Bowens having a tremendous singles run. But a lot of speculation was on the legitimacy of Max Caster. But what I love that they're doing now is, over the last several weeks, the Acclaimed have really been building up their credibility as a legit tag team. Yes, they've been tag team champions before, but it was much more of a popularity kind of, hey, everybody loves the Acclaimed. But now they're really, especially with Max Caster. Plus, Max Caster looked cut. This is one of the best shapes I've seen Max Caster in a long time. He didn't seem like he was half-assing it out there. He spent a majority of the match in the ring, obviously for the Bowens hot tag, but it was such a great, both the Acclaimed look like legitimate contenders against the Young Bucks and against FTR. They're really starting to solidify themselves. It's kind of like that next level that a wrestler needs to be. In a way, it's similar to Orange Cassidy finally getting that title run instead of just being pockets, as some people call him, really showing what he's made of. I think the Acclaimed have really come up in a tremendous way. I see that the fallout from this going one of 2 ways. I love your idea. I'd love to see a triple threat Maybe tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh, a quadruple threat would be great, but it doesn't sound like, I don't know if that's happening. But like a ladder match for the titles. But I also see as a caveat, and especially if you're, if we're going to do that same triple threat for the trios titles, then I could see where at All In it's going to be Young Bucks versus FTR, and then the winner of that match takes on the Acclaimed at All Out. That All Out gets to have they get the title match at All Out with whoever wins. So they could do something with that if you wanted to go a little differently than before. But I do want to go back to, and the biggest pop of the night, I don't know if it translated on the TV, but the biggest pop of the night was when Daddy Ass came out. And I mean, just everybody seemed to just like go crazy. And it really injected a lot of excitement into the match. And, of course, him getting kicked out thanks to an Eddie Guerrero spot. Was everybody boo? Everybody was booing, but this was one of the best matches of the night. But more so, I feel like the Young Bucks really helped the Acclaim really look legit. And specifically, I got to give my flowers to Max Caster for really stepping it up. Physically in the ring. A lot of the stuff he was doing, I feel like this is, I don't know if someone's talked to him, if he's getting coached, or if this is his own doing, but the Acclaimed are really solidifying themselves as a legit competitor and not just the Acclaimed gimmick. Of course, everybody loves the Acclaimed.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been cutting some lethal promos backstage. It's been a lot of fun. Both Bowens and Caster have been spitting fire backstage in those segments that we've been seeing online. Really fun to watch their growth and potentially capture their second run of the tag team titles. I think that you nailed it. These guys have definitely a lot of growth. The tag team division, I think, is on a rise right now, as we're seeing with the additions of MXM, Top Flight being featured more, now the Outrunners and other teams. But I still think there needs to be a little bit more depth. Like FTR being back, they've gone on this tag team run to kind of climb their way to the number one contender spot-ish. And so if they do take the titles, like, who's next? Like, because they've kind of gone through like 3 or 4 teams already. Like, we should be establishing more tag teams right now to give this division more depth, which would be an unfortunate thing. Talking about this, the Lucha Brothers, a big thing. We weren't scheduled to talk about this, but Lucha Brothers are my favorite tag team in AEW. Ray Phoenix is definitely one of my top 1 or 2 talents in AEW. If they do leave AEW, I think it'll be, it's hard to compare a Cody departure because of everything that he helped create. Yeah. But on that level, I think this would sting the second most departure currently if the Lucha Brothers leave. You have the chemistry that they have with so many teams in AEW right now. It's got to be more than just money, because I think TK would literally say, "Here's a blank check. What do you want? Stay." And I think the Young Bucks would support that as well. So something, if these rumors are true, which I'm holding on to all hope that they're not, the Lucha Brothers leaving, and let us know in the chat if you think they're staying or going.
Well, here's the thing. Pinta left a cryptic tweet that a lot of people are interpreting. It means he's staying, but the thing is I didn't read it that way. And
what was the tweet?
Here's the tweet right here. No more gossip. My present is AEW. Now, people are saying Penta confirmed his present is with AEW, but his future is with WWC. I think what this is meant to say is stop all the rumors. This is he's currently still in AEW. Their contract, I don't think that's necessarily means that he is.
When was that?
He posted, this was recently. This was actually, I think, this was earlier this week.
Okay.
And a lot of people are talking about how Penta is saying that he's I gotta be careful scrolling him. I guess some of the bots are starting to post some stuff that would get us kicked off YouTube. But yeah, it says Penta is confirmed is present with AEW, so you can interpret that for what you like. It doesn't. I'm not entirely sure that means he's not leaving.
Right.
I think that's more to do with that. He wants everybody to stop talking. It could be though. I would love for that to mean that they're staying with AEW, because here's the thing. I'm not anti people going to WWE. I think Ricky Starks going to WWE would actually be great for everybody. I think Ricky Starks would be tremendous. I think he'd be a great asset. He would get a lot more mic time, and I think that would be great. Plus, he'd be with his buddy, hopefully. Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, we can kind of say the post Vince era of WWE has been an improvement. There's been a lot of good creative stuff going on in WWE. And I think that, Cody has really benefited about Slip going over. Ethan Page has definitely benefited about hopping over. He's been another great addition. I just hope they see the Lucha Brothers for the stars that they are, and not just try to do Lucha House Party and have them chase the 24/7 title. Make them truly guys. But of course, my ultimate thing is I hope that they stay. And I hope that they need to get the titles again. I mean, I think they need to be, Lucha versus FTR would be a great feud to go forward.
Yeah,
but,
I think
we'll see.
Biasly, because I love the Lucha Brothers so much, I would really, really personally be so sad if they left. And I really don't think they are, and I really hope they don't, because especially like I mentioned, they're such a valuable asset to AEW in so many levels. The trios, the tags, the singles, they can do it all. And that brings me to one of my, before I go into my real hot take is, we saw Christian Cage talking about, no challengers at Wembley, and Pac cutting an awesome promo about his Wembley moment. So I would love it for Christian Cage and the Patriarchy to have an open challenge or something like that, and Death Triangle challenge them to the trios. They don't have to win. They don't have to win, because I have a better plan for this. But the pop would be huge. It would give the Lucha Brothers and us fans kind of reassurance of, okay, they're possibly staying now. And Pac is Wembley moment, because he would get a huge pop versus the number 1 or number 2 heel in AEW. And then that would just let them have that match in those moments. And then they can, shift back to the old trios feud with the Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang, and the House of Black. And, you can have that match at All Out. And then, so this leads me to my hot take. So here we go. SPD's hot take, which if you follow us on Twitter, you got a little taste of the SPD hot take. It got me thinking when I was rewatching Pac's promo, which the guy can cut some killer promos, the bastard. He was more so singling out Billy Goat himself, Will Ospreay. And so that tells me, kind of read between the lines on that for the what's in store with us. He called out his redeeming his title shot at All Out in Chicago, the place where he beat Kenny Omega. And so I think what we're in store, the way I would book it, MJF has had this run with the American title and doing, different promos and just being absurd, which I would love to see more of that on AEW television. However, I think it's okay, like that short of a run there. Will Ospreay is going to beat MJF in his hometown and get the pop of a lifetime there and do right there. That being said, 2 weeks later at All Out, MJF is going to cost Will Ospreay the title once again with the Dynamite Diamond ring or whatever it may be, a low blow, maybe choke him with the American flag or something ridiculous like that. And then Pac is going to be your new international champion. So now Pac's going to get his second run of that, which is going to be great because having a future Pac with the belt and getting him in the ring week in and week out even more is just going to be winning for all. But, the match of the year candidate could be Pac versus Ospreay. I mean, I got to see Danielson versus Ospreay live, which was just absolutely incredible. But you're talking about pure wrestling 101 and just wrestling match. The money is Pac Ospreay. I don't want to see Pac MJF like right now. That's not going to be the money match that I would want to see. As a wrestling fan, Ospreay versus Pac is going to be one of those like dream match moments. And so I think if you're smart, you book Ospreay winning, get him the belt, give him that, losing the belt shortly after, which is fine, to Pac, which is a absolutely credible, deserving talent, one-of-a-kind talent, then giving us MJF versus Ospreay 3.0 at Wrestle Dream or wherever it may be at Grand Slam. How about we do it at Grand Slam? Because in the backyard of Long Island, New York, they have their third match there, which could headline that, which is a headlining match there. And then after that feud, Ospreay starts to slowly shift his attention to the world title picture for the rematch of Danielson Ospreay, where Ospreay becomes the new world heavyweight champion of AEW. Throw it up. Throw it up.
There you go. I don't know. Let's see. Does Danielson like that? I don't know. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things where, like, I was really hoping that Pac was going to get some his Wembley moment. There's a lot of people, and I love, first of all, that we're talking about the Wembley moment, like the WrestleMania moment. All In is really becoming the WrestleMania for AEW, and I love that. I still wish Emi Sakura would get her Wembley moment, but the SPD, of course, SPD got his good hot take. Yeah, I like that. I think there's nothing wrong with any of that booking. I think, again, eventually, Ospreay needs to go towards the world title picture, and I think that I think the international breakfast title, or the whatever. I think Pac needs to get back into that, and he's such a great person to defend that title all over the world. And that's one of the things I really like about AEW now is pushing for they're really going global. There's now talk of having a pay-per-view in Australia in 2025. So, the Thunder from Down Under, or, something like that, which is great. All In doing the Texas run is going to be great. Texas really came through with their with the Dallas, or the Collision series that they had, has been fantastic. So yeah, I love everything you said. I from your mouth to Tony's ears, let's make it happen.
Book it.
Yeah,
I think, because the more talking about it, okay, I believe MJF could deliver a match with Pac, but wouldn't you want more to see Ospreay versus him when you're just talking of wrestling quality of wrestlers and talent in ring? That's so much more of a money feud, and stretching it out to give us a rematch at Grand Slam. Yes, Darby Allin has a title shot at Grand Slam, which could be the main event, a title shot, Darby versus whatever, be Swerve or Danielson. But you have a follow-up with MJF versus Ospreay 3. That could help ticket sales right there, in my opinion.
Yeah. And just a note on the title itself, the purpose, titles need to have a purpose. You've got your world title. That's the creme de la creme. That's the top of the mountain, right? Is old platinum. And that's what everybody's striving for. Same with the tag team titles. But with the TBS and TNT titles, those are kind of the TV titles. Those should be kind of a bit more of a workhorse title, what have you. But those should be the more frequently defended, the ones you see on TV, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But the titles like the international title or the continental title, those are titles that you want defended outside of AEW. You want MJF showing up at CMLL. You want Pac showing up in England, showing up in Japan. You want
Right.
Ospreay showing up. You want them defended in other promotions, because what that does is it's twofold. One, it brings new eyes to those promotions, but it also brings eyes on new talent that could then show up here. I mean, think about AEW bringing in Vikingo, Hologram, who's one of my new favorites right now. You're bringing in, Mina Shirakawa, who's back in the States again. You've got, there's so much talent out there. And that's one thing that AEW is next leveling, is their global representation.
Right.
And a great way to do that is you put that strap on a workhorse like Pac and send them out there to the other promotions. Sky's the limit.
You're right, man. It's funny you say that about the global, because when I brought my buddy to Dynamite, who's not a huge or not really a very beginner wrestling fan, he's like, "Oh, there's a lot of foreigners in this company." I mean, in a good way, like you had Tony Storm cutting promos, Ospreay, and others, and so it's like this just to show how diverse and global the brand is. Let's talk about the main event real quick. Swerve Strickland versus Wheeler Yuta. It's cool seeing Yuta back, especially since he's on Team SPD. But, I think he's benefited so much with the mentorship of the BCC. It's one of those that's like, man, I feel like he takes such a beating, and he's like literally like the Karate Kid or something, just like getting beat up nonstop just to kind of like learn more and more and more. And I mean, what better three guys to be under their wing than Danielson, Claudio, and Mox? I mean, it doesn't get better than that, in my opinion. If you had a trio as like a group to join of who you're going to learn from. But Swerve, he came on the offense right away, came strong, and he's leaning into that more typical Swerve heel side as of late with this feud. He's had that cocky swagger and that, always, whether it be babyface or heel, but I feel like he's leaning into that heel side once again with this Danielson feud. I mean, when you start to bring in family and cut deep, though, that's heel 101 stuff.
Yeah.
So we could see a shift in Swerve very soon with what's going to happen at All In.
I only disagree with you on a minor point, and it's not really a disagreement. I'm actually kind of agreeing with you, but on this point is I think Swerve is kind of becoming like a Moxley, where Swerve is a heel or a face depending on who he's wrestling. And I think I think he's staying consistent to the character that he's been. He's evolving, and he's got a dark side, and Hangman brought that out. I mean, you look at, if he goes up against Hangman again, it's going to be like, it's going to be those two vicious guys. What I like about Swerve is always thinking that he's always willing to cross the line that a lot of wrestlers aren't. And I think that's kind of been a consistent theme with Swerve. And what's brought him popularity, definitely, to argue I saw some points online that people were upset that, Wheeler Yuta had a stronger showing than they felt like he should have against Swerve, that there were some times where Wheeler had the upper hand. Very few, but there were some times where Wheeler had the upper hand on Swerve. But see, that's more of, you got to remember, Wheeler Yuta is an extension of the Blackpool Combat Club.
Right.
And, for him to get squashed is also, so you're kind of squashing the Blackpool Combat Club and their philosophy. So
good point.
He had to have a good, strong showing. But this match was, as everybody knew, was designed to throw kerosene on the already existing flame between Swerve and Bryan Danielson. The hype, the hype for this match was already reaching pretty hot proportions. But now after this, it's really continuing into, is Swerve going to retire Danielson? I mean, is he really going to beat the crap out of him to the point where Danielson's forced to retire? I love the storyline. I love the mind games that Swerve. Swerve has become my favorite wrestler. I mean, I am a little biased. This is what I want for Swerve. But like his in-ring, you could see it. Without the commentary. We got to watch it live. Swerve can tell a story with his emotion, with his emotes, with his facial expressions, with, taking the time to stop, and then he gets that grin on his face. And it just, all those moments, he really, and what was really kind of cool was obviously, how House of Burden, how that Full Tilt Deb and Mindrunner feel about Bryan Danielson. Our section was pro Swerve, anti Danielson, and where the rest of the people were cheering for him. There was a lot of yes chants. We were going no, but when Swerve finally the post match after Bryan Danielson rushed to Wheeler's side, and then Swerve came back and kicked Bryan in the head, he stands and starts doing the slow points, and of course Nana's behind him, doing swerving when he drives. But I felt like this was a great, like I said, this felt like a go home show. Like this
100%.
Really felt like you could have told me that All In was this weekend, and
100%.
I would have been hyped for it. But what this also does, and those of you that were able to catch the online exclusive promo that Bryan cut afterwards, you've got to. This has also lit a fire under, but this has made this more of just a, hey, guys, this is going to be my last match. I'd like to go out on top as champion. Now, and this is what Swerve is great at, is now it's personal. Now it's bringing out what Swerve is able to do that he did with Hangman, and now he's doing with Danielson, is bringing out that beast that inside of Danielson, that this isn't just going to be just, hey, you guys, this we're doing this. This is now, it's almost to the point. Yeah, hi guys. It's almost to the point where Bryan Danielson is now doesn't care about the title. He cares about kicking Swerve's ass. And that's what Swerve wants. He wants that match. And that's what we need, is we need the Bryan Danielson that, gosh golly, hopes he wins the title and goes off into the sunset. Everybody wants the Bryan Danielson that was willing to die just to take Swerve down. And that's what we're getting. And I love it.
When I first saw and sent you that Danielson promo backstage, I was thinking, what did FTD think about that?
She didn't watch it. She didn't want to see his,
Come on.
His butt.
I mean, if you're a wrestling fan,
she is a wrestling fan.
Mean, that was like such a fire promo, regardless of like whether, like, if MJF or like if Orange Cassidy cut that promo like that, which he would never and could never, I'd be like, okay, I'm chills, and I'm even more pumped about this match, because I love the fact that AEW does those backstage promos.
Yeah.
And I feel like doing the social release is kind of like a feeler. Then they give it to us on TV, they replay it, which is nice to kind of, re-air it. And it's almost like a test run. But I mean, after that promo, it's like, holy cow, man, this guy has got so much left in the tank. He's not losing.
Easter egg. It rewards us as fans for going more beyond. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, social media is huge. I mean, I love when people complain something's not on TV, on a podcast, on YouTube. Like that always tickles me. Like, you are on the most popular streaming thing, complaining about something not being on. So no, but you're absolutely right. And I think I like it that when they do replace some of the real popular ones on TV, but those are Easter eggs. That's not like next level. If you want more content, there's more out there, because you want your fans to feel like that. You want your fans to be like, oh, what's going to happen next? And then they go on social media and they find this extra thing. It's rewarding. I can speak for me. I like I said earlier, this is really taking it to the next level. We're not getting the Bryan Danielson, hey guys, I'm going to hopefully get the title. We're getting, title be damned, I want your blood, Swerve. We're getting that Bryan Danielson. We're getting that Clam Digger. But I think that Full Tilt Deb is in a complete agreement with Nigel McGuinness's opinion. So I think if you want Full Tilt Deb's opinion of that promo, just ask Nigel McGuinness what he thinks of that. And
that Clam Digger. I'm trying to find. There was a funny post. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. It was like of Tony. You might have seen it. It was like Tony Khan booking the Swerve Danielson match, and it was like his face slowly smiling more, and then his face is like on fire. The way it was, because each graphic was getting like something different. It was just like the Swerve versus Danielson, and then it was like, okay, the Swerve or title versus career, and then it was like, oh, it's like the final countdown. And so I love that, like, it's gotten so much more than what it's been. You know, the lead up to it has been just fantastic, and I think it's been a absolute perfect build, and it's going to be a home run main event when we go to it. I'm trying to find and see if I see it anywhere.
It's
But
going
we'll
to be
repost it if we do it. But like,
even me as a lukewarm Danielson fan, again, that's kayfabe lukewarm fan. Behind the scenes, the man that's behind the scenes, the Bryan Danielson behind the scenes, I'm a huge fan. I was like that with Cody too. The man, the person behind the scenes, huge fan. But the character, the wrestler, the person that they are, I'm much more of a Moxley, Kenny Omega, Osprey fan. I'm definitely a Swerve mark, of course, if you can't tell. But like, I get it. And this has made me excited for this match because it really is going to be a bloodthirsty match. Like you said, the evolution of Danielson. Yeah, if you look how it slowly, it's like, you can just see it slowly descending. And now it'll probably be like a last man alive, match.
World Championship, title versus career, the final countdown, title versus career. So it's like going more and more and more. So
it's going to be two men enter, one man leave.
Right. Talking about shifting focus on All In, really quickly as we wrap up. I know there's still a lot of stuff on Dynamite we didn't talk about, but I do want to just briefly touch on All In. I'm a little bit shocked. I'm not upset. I'm a little shocked there's not more matches announced in typical AEW fashion. 11 days away, I believe we are now, either 10 or 11. But in typical AEW fashion, you would have seen maybe, at least a dozen matches announced already. Yes, I feel like we're still in store, obviously, for the tag team title match. Yes, we're still in store for a potential trios match. After that, what else do you see making this card?
Well, a couple things I'll say on that. And as bookers, as an armchair booker, but one of the things that we don't see is a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that has to get done. And that there's visas involved, there's travel involved. Anytime you're going overseas to do a promotion, there's going to be some issues where, hey, can this person show up? We don't know. There might be waiting on some of that. But also, AEW is notorious for dropping the last week as we do have the go home, dropping in those last minute matches. So I mean, at this point, this is a good card. I know there's going to be at least two more. There's got to be two more 0-hour matches, at least one more. But I think there's going to be at least three more matches in the main card as well. And they may or may not be title match cards, but I think you're definitely going to see the tag team titles defended in some way, and you're going to see the trios titles defended in some way. And or let me rephrase that, you're going to see a match that promotes the trios division and a match that promotes if you see what I'm saying, you're going to have at least two more matches there, and then there's going to be another match of some kind. I also think that the Casino Gauntlet match, there's a very strong potential for some surprises to show up in the Gauntlet match. As much as I'd love to see Miro come back, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we might see some debuts in the Casino Gauntlet match, and there's going to be some pops there. There's a lot of opportunity for some surprises. But also there's going to be some great matches, and it's going to be great. I don't see this being this is not the finished card by any means, but I do see nothing but upgrades to this card.
So SPD's perfect card booker to add would be, like what I mentioned earlier in the show, would be a trios open challenge with the Death Triangle accepting, the tag team triple threat. I would like to see a Mark Briscoe match That would be a lot of fun. Maybe on a 0-hour match. You put it Briscoe and Ishii versus whatever Bennett and Taven or whatever it may be. Like just one of those like get the crowd going matches. And that's what I would add. And then you know what I would do is Okada is going to beat Claudio, which I want to mention his promo was fantastic yesterday. Bitch.
Yep.
That I would like to see. I still stand by. I would love to, even though it should be a build match, Omega versus Okada, somehow like a surprise match with that. You know, it would be disservice to not build that up, but it would be pretty awesome if that was a surprise match.
If Kenny was ready to go, that would be the way to do it. Is have Okada beat Claudio next week on Dynamite, and then you hear Kenny's music. Now, if Kenny's not ready, this would fit perfectly. Imagine Okada defeating Claudio, being all cocky, and then wild thing. The crowd would lose their minds. I would lose their minds if Moxley shows up and gets in Okada's face, and then we have Moxley versus Okada at All In or All Out.
You're absolutely right. It just is not. It doesn't seem right to not have Mox or Kenny, if healthy, on the biggest show of the year.
Yep. One other thing,
I think an unhealthy Mox would show up regardless.
Right, Mox's arm would fall off, and he'd come walking in, going like this. Hey, what's up? The Raz is in the house, by the way. Good to see you, buddy. I want to go to Brent's point too about Thunder, and we were saying the same thing. Is I think that they need to, since they have the gauntlet match for the men, why not have just a quick battle royal? Because although we already predicted where the feud's going to go between Britt Hader and Mercedes and Camille, but we don't know the future after Tony Storm, Mariah May. Maybe Mina Shirakawa is going to get involved. Maybe there's something else. But I would love to see a battle royal, just put 8 to 10 women in a battle royal for a title shot at All Out for the women's championship, and put Thunder in that battle royal, whether she wins or not. But showcase the other women in the. You can even put in a lot of the Ring of Honor ladies. Showcase. It's an opportunity to showcase. Now, granted, I'm sure travel's an issue, blah blah blah, what have you. But I think we need another women's match. You could put it on the 0 hour if you want. We need another women's match. We need Thunder and Deanna. I'm going to vouch for Deanna. We need Deanna on this card, and possibly Athena. You know, it'd be cool to see those ladies on here. So there you go, Tony. Once again, from our mouths to your ears, man.
I would save the battle royal to All Out. You know, when I was at All Out a few years ago, they did have a women's battle royal. I personally think the women's division is very well represented for All In, and I think let that simmer and shine, and let us digest that, and because I think we're going to have some really marquee moments with the women's division. You know, I think Mariah May, not to put take my predictions away from our prediction show, but I think it's Mariah May's time to dethrone Tony. And then, as I predicted with the DMD and the Hater return there, I think that those stories just bundled in that is going to be a home run for the women's division. Then you come back on Dynamite, set some promos. Mariah May is like, who's going to be my first title defense or whatever it may be. And you have Maria come out and kind of like confront her. Maybe that's going to be her first test at All Out. Maybe they fight it all out. And then they also do the Battle Royal, whatever it may be. But personally, I think I would welcome it 100%. But I am happy with the way it's been represented it All In.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward. It's going to be so awesome. It's going to be so cool. And it is Okada approved, of course. And it's going to be fantastic, dude. It's going to be cool.
All right, that's going to wrap up our show for the night. Thank you all for joining us, always in the chat. We love talking to you all live in the chat. We will see you next week for Dynamite Download episode 140. Plus, next week, we're going to have our all-in preview show. So we're going to get that bingo card ready for a chance for our draft to add a +3 to your score for those who are participating in our Dynamite Download draft. Whoever has the most correct picks is get a +3 points in their draft. So a lot at stake and a lot in store for AEW over the next 10 days or so. So thank you guys. Have a great night. As Mindrunner said, Rampage is a must-see, so definitely tune in tomorrow night for that, and hopefully we'll get some great matches announced for Collision very soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.